Yeah, that feeling, you get the keys to your new home, you hold them in your hand, it's just a huge moment. But, once that initial excitement starts to fade a little, a whole pile of bills shows up that you probably weren't expecting. The truth is, that mortgage payment, that's just the tip of the iceberg. So let's dive in and uncover the real full cost of owning a home.
So let me just ask you straight up. When you think about your housing budget, is that mortgage payment the only big number you're really planning for? Because if it is, you might be setting yourself up for a pretty major financial shock. We're about to see exactly why.
Now take a look at this. This chart just shatters that myth. I mean, yeah, of course, the mortgage is the biggest slice of the pie, nobody's denying that. But look at all these other pieces. You've got property taxes, insurance, maintenance. They all start adding up, and they turn what you thought was one big payment into a whole collection of costs you have to juggle.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning. We're talking about the costs that hit you before you even move your first box in. A lot of first-time buyers get completely blindsided by these. These are the one-time fees that drain your bank account right at the start of the journey.
Really, we're talking about three main hurdles here. You've got closing costs, which you have to pay to finalize the loan. Then there's the inspection and appraisal fees. And trust me, these are crucial to make sure you're making a good investment. And then, of course, the actual cost of just moving all your stuff. So here's the kicker. The scale of these closing costs. They're typically somewhere between 2 and 5% of the total loan amount. Now, think about what that actually means. For a, say, $300,000 loan, you are suddenly looking at an extra $6,000 to $15,000 that you need to have ready in cash. Did you budget for that? A lot of people don't.
All right, so you've paid all those upfront costs, you're finally in the house, great. But now the recurring bills start rolling in, and this is where your budget really starts to change. Let's move on and see how these costs create a predictable monthly drain on your finances.
And this just illustrates the shift perfectly. As a renter, your budget is pretty simple, right? You got rent, maybe some basic utilities, but as a homeowner, boom, your budget just explodes with all these new line items. All of a sudden, you're on the hook for property taxes, homeowners insurance, and sometimes those dreaded HOA fees. Let's break those down a bit. Property taxes, which pay for things like local schools and services, they can average over $3,000 a year. Homeowners insurance isn't just required by your lender, but the rates are climbing like crazy. And don't forget, your utility bills for a bigger house can easily top $500 a month, plus potential HOA fees that can range from, pocket change to what feels like another car payment. And now for the part that really keeps new homeowners up at night, the surprise costs. This is what I like to call the maintenance monster. It is completely unpredictable, it's always hungry, and if you are not prepared for it, it can absolutely devour your savings. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? That leaky faucet, the furnace that breaks in the middle of a blizzard, the water heater that just gives up. That is all on you now. There's no one else to call. The responsibility for every single repair, big or small, rests right on your shoulders. So how in the world do you fight the maintenance monster? Well, you prepare for battle with a proven strategy. Financial experts absolutely swear by what's called the 1% rule. It's really simple. You just aim to save 1% of your home's total value every single year in a dedicated fund just for these kinds of repairs. Let's make that real for a second. If your home is worth, say, $400,000, the 1% rule means you should be setting aside $4,000 a year. Okay, that breaks down to about $333 a month that you're just putting into a savings account waiting for something to go wrong. And why is that so critical? Because of numbers like this one. A single major repair, like getting a whole new roof, can cost $10,000, $15,000, even $20,000. All of a sudden, that $333 a month doesn't seem like some annoying expense. It feels like essential financial armor, protecting you from a totally catastrophic bill. Okay, I know. That was a lot of scary numbers, but don't worry, because knowledge is power. Now that we understand the problems, we can build a simple, actionable plan to take control and own your home smartly without all the stress. Here it is, your 3-step game plan. First, open a totally separate savings account, call it your home fund, and automate that 1% monthly transfer. Second, create a second budget just for these non-mortgage costs. Track them for a year so you really know your home's true annual cost. And third, be proactive.
A little cheap maintenance now, like cleaning your gutters, can prevent a massive, expensive repair down the road.
You know, the real takeaway here is that smart homeownership isn't about avoiding costs. That's just impossible. It's about anticipating them. It's about knowing what's coming down the pike and having a plan in place so that when the water heater breaks, it's just an inconvenience, not a full-blown financial crisis.
And if you need one last little piece of motivation to take this seriously, just look at this. Over the life of a typical 30-year mortgage, all these hidden costs, we're talking taxes, insurance, maintenance, can actually add up to more than half of what you paid for the house in the first place. That is a staggering long-term financial reality.
Which really leaves us with this one final question. When you look at it this way, is your dream home a tool for building wealth, or is it a trap just waiting to drain your finances? The answer, it turns out, depends entirely on whether you look beyond the mortgage and plan for the total, true cost of ownership.